So it's the 24th of July 2019, and Boris Johnson has become our 55th Prime Minister. Coincidentally, he is 55, which is roughly the median age actually of Prime Ministers. William Pitt the Younger was the youngest on ascension at 24 back in 1783, and Lord Palmerston, the oldest on ascension, at 70 in 1855. I may make a video actually specifically on prime ministerial statistics. It's quite an interesting subject, but I just want to say a few things about today's developments, not every detail, but just a few things. So Theresa May had her last. By the way, I should say some sources are saying that Johnson will be the 77th prime minister. I'm not sure what the basis for that is. I've seen a few sources saying 77th, a few newspapers, a few other sources. Whether they're going by governments, bearing in mind that some of those Victorian prime ministers had they had a term of office, they were out of office, they went back into office. Whether they're going by that or not, I don't know. But that's not the same as actual individual prime ministers. So if we go from Sir Robert Walpole, then Boris Johnson is 55th, and he is the 14th of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, which is incredible. Um, okay, I want to just speak a bit about today's events. So, Theresa May's asked Prime Minister's questions. That's always considered to be kind of an informal event. It was to an extent, there were some tributes made, but I thought it was a little bit testy between Jeremy Corbyn and May. More so than, for example, between David Cameron and Jeremy Corbyn, or between David Cameron and Tony Blair. Um, Corbyn listed areas where he thought she had failed, from cut in police numbers to a rise in violent crime to a rise in homelessness. He did, I guess you would say, give her some credit insofar as um, I think he mentioned more focus on mental health issues. He also made the point, which he's made a few times, which is that there is pressure often on the families of public figures. Um, but she had a parting shot, which was a bit sort of blunt, which was, I have resigned from my party. I suggest the honourable gentleman does the same. So no love lost between these two. Um, there were some, if you like, sisterly support from Harriet Harman and from Joe Swinson, the new Liberal Democrat leader. Just a little point I want to make. Joe Swinson made this kind of snide comment about uh, there's a lot of men who criticise, but they wouldn't get down to do the hard work themselves. And there was a big laugh over that. But why is it that, and I don't want to make too big an issue out of this, but why is it that casual anti-male sexism gets a laugh? Imagine if a male MP said something like that, oh, women wouldn't be prepared to do the hard work. They'd be denounced as a sexist. No male MP would get away with that. And not for the first time today, there's been a lot of references to a woman prime minister, women in cabinet, and the feminist narrative's been really on overdrive today from certain quarters, but that's to be expected. Um, Nothing particularly remarkable about May's outgoing speech. I did think that her voice quivered a little bit, so I thought maybe she would break down again, which is, it's a human thing, it's understandable, but she didn't. She thanked her husband, and at one point, that well known anti Brexit protester, you could hear his voice, and May kind of done an ad lib, which was quite witty. I think not. That was a kind of notable moment. She went to the palace, roughly half an hour meeting. Just for international observers, that is technically the moment when an outgoing prime minister ceases to be prime minister. And we have a transition period of, it's pretty brief, it's about half an hour, something like that, which is technically from when the outgoing prime minister tenders her resignation to the Queen, and then they leave the palace, and the new prime minister or the prime minister designate comes in. It's about half an hour. Johnson had quite a long meeting. It was about an hour. Now, one notable thing about that was protesters. Whether they were from Extinction Rebellion or another green group, I don't know. But they actually managed to block off, I think it was a Horse Guards parade. Um, it wasn't a major issue. I mean, it held up the motorcade, Johnson's motorcade, for a few seconds, but it was notable enough to get attention, which I guess was their objective. The police on, I think they called them Outlanders, the police on motorbikes managed to kind of disperse them. I thought there would be another protest with Johnson actually making the speech at number 10. That didn't happen. It was quite a Johnson-esque speech, quite jovial, quite wide-ranging. Actually, he touched on a lot of ambitions. And of course all the analysis is going on now. So it's been a very busy day. I'm actually a bit tired. I've been up early this morning because I wanted to get newspapers from yesterday's announcement that Johnson had won. I'll probably make another video on specifically Boris Johnson, the man. He has no shortage of things, of priorities. I mean, Brexit, of course. But there is also things going on beyond Brexit. There's this situation with Iran, which is very serious. There's growing tensions with China. Um, he's going to have his homework cut out for him. Um, People are saying he could be the shortest serving prime minister ever if Tory rebels, and I know Philip Hammond, David Gauke, David Livington, and other Tories have resigned. Whether there's going to be a situation where he's forced out of office. I just don't see that happening. My gut feeling is it won't happen. I mean, I remember when May first got in, there was speculation she would last for years, and that didn't happen. Well, now the speculation is Johnson will be out very soon, and I don't think that will happen. Uh, Politics is very, very uncertain in Britain these days, but we absolutely need stability. And, for the sake of the country, I want Johnson to succeed. He wasn't. I would have preferred Hunt, but for the sake of the country, I want Johnson to succeed. The big thing tomorrow, of course, will be cabinet nominations. I've been reading House of Cards today. It's always an interesting thing about, who gets what role, who gets that phone call. Probably Sajid Javid in the Chancellery. There's speculation that Penny Mordaunt could be the Foreign Secretary. Um, who knows? It's going to be interesting. I'll make another video specifically on Boris Johnson and his priorities and some thoughts around that. I like the fact that Johnson was very careful to reassure Europeans living in Britain. I think that was important. He also spoke about our friends in the rest of Europe, in Ireland. That's very important. I do not want Johnson to be taking a jingoistic pitch, which certain hardline Brexiteers would like. No, we don't need that right now. Yes, he needs to deliver Brexit, but these people are our neighbours. We need to work with them. And I'm pleased that Johnson touched on that. So, for the sake of the country, I hope he has a successful premiership. And I'll say more about this probably tomorrow.